Hello there, Harry Potter fans. Welcome back to the page. We are continuing on with a new chapter for Backward with Purpose, Part 1, Always and Always by Dead Woodpecker. Here we are with Chapter 40, Confession.
Chapter 40, Confession. Chapter text. Harry was just drifting off to sleep, feeling slightly overwhelmed after the events of Christmas Day with Ginny and Ron, when the door opened. He really ought to have known that something was going to happen. As soon as he heard the creak and Ron's heavy footsteps, he groaned. He should not have let himself be lulled into a false sense of security. "We need to talk, Harry," Ron said. No use trying to get out of it. Harry sat up with a sigh and reached over for his glasses. "I'm tired," he said. It sounded weak even to his ears. Ginny and Ron rightfully ignored him. How did I not notice that she wasn't drifting off to sleep? "So," Harry said, "I'm really glad that you two and your family are working things out." "I'm too," Ginny said. Ron shook his head. "As soon as you said it about making a choice, I knew you were right." "I wanted it before that," Ginny admitted. She laced her fingers with Harry's. It's so hard to do, or it seemed like it would be hard, and I still resent them a little. But it's like, I don't know," Ron said. Harry knew exactly what they were trying to articulate as he had experienced something similar, though he imagined that it was far worse for Ginny and Ron. He hoped that the last of their resentment would burn away sooner rather than later, and he hoped that they would have a more fulfilling resolution than he had. Mr. Weasley and the older two Weasleys were extremely uncomfortable around Harry after what had happened at Azkaban, and that only served to reinforce the fact that it was too late to enjoy the relationship they had shared before. Ginny gazed steadily at him. She had guessed his thoughts, as she often did when he was feeling something particularly deeply. She took a deep breath. "You made a promise, Harry." "I know," Harry said, "and I'm keeping it the best way I know how. But, Ron said in a strangled voice. "I hate that word. You swore to me that you would do everything you could to try to prevent this," Ginny said. Her lips trembled a little. "But you really think you're going to die, don't you?" Ron said. His voice was a little loud, and Harry wondered if they ought to put a silencing charm on the door. They were sandwiched right between two occupied rooms, and Percy and Hermione would be able to hear if they got much louder. Merlin knew that Sirius, Remus, and Tonks would be able to hear Ron, and they were on the opposite side of the house and on a different floor. But Harry felt like a great weight was compressing his chest. "I just don't see another way around it," Harry said. "Hermione, not even Hermione can pull miracles out of her books," Harry said quietly. "And I got her looking for it in the ancient magics. I think she's beginning to suspect." "She isn't," Ron said firmly. "She has no idea. I think we should tell them," Ginny said. "I've always thought that it was a mistake not to." "No," Harry said. He sounded harsh. "Absolutely not." "I can't believe you don't," Ron began. But Harry cut him off. "I said no," he shouted. He was breathing rather heavily. He turned away from both of them and stepped toward the window. He'd chosen this specifically because he could not see the ruined cottage where his parents had been murdered. For the first time, he regretted this. He wanted the both of them to be quiet. The thoughts that he had been trying to push down for months were about to break free, and he did not want to voice them. "Harry, if this is about being noble." Harry interrupted Ron again, his stomach churning. "It's the exact opposite of being noble." He gripped the window sill so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His voice was very loud, but he couldn't seem to help himself. Ron and Ginny were silent, and he knew that they were communicating their disbelief, and this angered him so much that he could no longer dam up his mouth. "I don't want to do it." There was a swift intake of breath from both Ginny and Ron, and a ringing moment of silence, and then Harry let the words flow. "I don't want to do it, all right. The idea, it's been festering, and the idea," his throat closed, but the words kept coming, "of dying and leaving you behind, Ginny, makes me physically ill." "Harry, I'm positive that this is why the power is terrible," Harry said. He felt suddenly calm and certain. "I've thought it for a while now, and I don't want to tell you this, but if other people knew, I just don't think I could do it. Not with them, knowing and watching. Not with the pity. I honestly don't think I'd be able to do it." Ginny drew in a deep, shaking breath. "It had better not be," she said fiercely. He turned around and faced her, and saw that her face was streaked with tears. "And even if I have to go back in time another 5 years and become Merlin, I'm not going to let you die." "That's another thing," Harry said. "I've been thinking, what if I'm Merlin? What if I find out? What if I find out that I can't do it after all?" "You've done it before," Ron said quietly. "Because I thought everyone was dead," Harry said. He raked his hands through his hair. It was an entirely different thing. This situation and the other would be as dissimilar as night and day. He vividly remembered standing in front of the killing curse, desperately wanting to die and not even fighting it. And then he came back to defeat Voldemort once and for all, but he'd had no intention of staying. He'd gone out in the Forbidden Forest, wondering how best to die until he'd been found by. "Harry," Ron interrupted his thoughts. His voice was much lower than normal. "I can't imagine what you're feeling right now. You know me. I've got the emotional range of a teaspoon." Ron paused. Harry waited, but Ron didn't say another word for long minutes. "I guess what I'm trying to say is," Ron said heavily, "I think you're selling yourself short. You're the bravest man I've ever met." Ron did not understand that it wasn't about bravery. He wasn't afraid of death, not really. He even understood a little what Dumbledore had said long ago about death being the next great adventure. For some inexplicable reason, the image of an empty and sparkling White King's Cross station drifted into his mind, but Ginny caught his attention by reaching for his hand. "I want to grow old with her," Harry realized. "I wish I could go on to the next great adventure after a long life with children and grandchildren," and Ginny's face, old and wrinkled and beautiful, the last thing I see, not Voldemort's. He knew that he was being selfish, and it shamed him, but he couldn't seem to help it. This was exactly why he hadn't wanted to mention it to either of them. It had opened the floodgates. He wouldn't even say that he pitied himself. He would much rather be the one to die than have this burden passed to anyone else he loved. Rage at Voldemort and his rape of ancient laws of magic surged through him. "Don't think I'm not going to do it if I have to," Harry said. His sudden anger made his voice sharp. "And I think I'm going to have to. I already said that. The Deathly Hallows have slipped through my fingers, and I can't imagine that items that forestall death are littering the ground." Ron and Ginny looked as helpless as he felt. "What," said Hermione, "is Harry talking about?" Harry whirled on her. She wore a faded dressing gown. Her hair was mussed and hung around her face, and her feet were bare. Her eyes were wide and fearful, and Harry started cursing, using every foul word from Ron's arsenal. "Damn it," he finished. His fingers itched on his wand, and he wanted desperately to take away her memories. It was obvious to him that she had heard enough. "Go make sure that Percy didn't hear," he said to Ron. "Are you going to answer my question, or are you going to keep swearing at me?" Hermione tried to make her voice sharp, but it quavered and broke. She lifted one shaking hand to cover her mouth. And this was exactly why Harry had not wanted her to know. He knew that she loved him like a brother. He knew that his friends loved him as much as he loved them. And he did not want to see their faces when they realized that Voldemort would be defeated, that the world would become a safer, brighter place, but not for him. He could not imagine being in her shoes, in Ron's shoes, and especially in Ginny's shoes. He did not think that he would have been able to let them go if any of the others had been a Horcrux. "He's still asleep," Ron said in a quiet voice. He raised his wand and put a silencing charm on the door. Harry sat down on the bed and put his head in his hands. It was Ron that told Hermione everything. Harry simply could not do it, but the only alternative would be to take her memory from her, and he couldn't do that either. Ron explained the true nature of the prophecy. Neither can live while the other survives, and also told her about the Deathly Hallows and how they had protected him in his first timeline. Ginny had her head on his shoulder. She did not look at him, but Harry could tell by the halting breaths she was taking that she was crying. Harry's eyes burned, but he did not cry. He had not become such a coward that he would cry for his own death. Everyone died. He wasn't afraid of it. He just didn't want it to happen so soon. Hermione moaned, as though she were in pain. "So this is why, the cloak, you were both so angry. It makes sense." She tried to sound like her rational, calm self, but it didn't work. She looked up. "I hate Voldemort." Her face crumpled. "When I think When I think of, it shouldn't be like this. I agree, Ginny said. Hermione, Ron said gently. He took her by the shoulders and turned her to him. Have you ever come across anything? Well, besides evil things like Horcruxes that would let Harry survive the killing curse? Something like the Deathly Hallows? Anything at all? No, she said in a very small voice. No, nothing. But maybe I just didn't believe. I'll have to start researching all over again. Her face fell into grim lines, though her eyes were wide and helpless, and she could not seem to look at Harry for longer than a moment. Harry knew that she did not think his chances of survival very high, though he also knew that she would exhaust every resource. She began to pace, swiping furiously at her eyes every once in a while. Harry, Ginny, and Ron watched her, hoping to see that familiar expression of triumph when she solved a particularly difficult puzzle. Harry did not take his eyes off of her. She paused for a long moment, her back to them. I can think of only one other way, I suppose. Harry's mother. Absolutely not, Harry said firmly. No one is going to jump in front of that curse for me. He looked from Ginny to Ron to Hermione. No one. Merlin. I wouldn't be able to live with myself after that. I really wouldn't. Hermione covered her face with her hands. Damn it, she sobbed. I know this is why you didn't want to tell the rest of us, but damn Voldemort. Fuck him. I don't understand how this is fair, how this could be possible. Fuck. It wasn't fair, Harry knew. But life was messy and sloppy, and fairness rarely played a part in it. It was strange, but something in her grief and sorrow steadied him. She was able to freely say what the small part of him that railed against the necessity of dying because some asshole had delusions of grandeur and had walked roads paved with blood to reach immortality. He felt oddly lighter, though he did not like to see her cry. He supposed it must be cathartic. I'm going to look, Hermione announced, shuddering. I'm going to look. I'll look everywhere I can. First you need to sleep, Ron said. He began steering her out of the room. She allowed him to for the first few steps, but then she spun around and launched herself at Harry and threw her arms around him. I'm so sorry, she murmured in his ear. He patted her on the back as a brother might. She left soon after, and Harry and Ginny crawled back into bed and lay facing each other. The silence between them was not awkward or uncomfortable. Just, Harry did not have words for what he was feeling in this moment, and he knew that Ginny suffered from the same affliction. It's just too big, Ginny said. Too big for words. Harry couldn't agree more.